Hello everyone, my name is Dan Timothy Barot, and today I just want you guys to sit back and relax because I know I know what's running on your minds. I know you might feel bored because on my case, it took me 8 pages to understand the whole story. But glad to say, I already anticipated. So I prepare an explanation that will help you to understand the whole story by just sharing to you guys the important and the key points on the story. So prepare, listen. So what are we waiting for? Let's begin. In the beginning, there's a great void known as chaos. And this chaos was considered as the first immortal. And what was chaos, you ask? It was a conscious void of nothingness before all matter came into existence. One moment when it suddenly began to quake, and the roar of rumbling void grew larger and larger. Ripples of energy were constantly released as all the existence shook out. It suddenly began to silent, and there was a flash of enormous explosion that blasted outwards. The movements of an irresistible force lifting up the mountains and scooping out the seas mold the appearance of the earth. And the energy from the explosion was the first generation of primordial creatures who had the appearance of life. It was Mother Earth and Father Heaven, Gaia and Uranus. Love was born, and with its birth, order and beauty began to banish blind confusion. Love created with its companion, the radiant day. And one more thing is that the poet Hesiod, Hesiod, was the first Greek who tried to explain how things began. Now, regarding the creatures that was formed as living beings, they make them unlike any form of life known to man. 3 of them, monstrously huge and strong, had each 100 hands and 50 heads. So basically guys, we are now heading on the important characters of the story, so you need to take note of the important points here. Okay, aside from those monster, we also have another 3 monsters, which actually the Cyclops. This, as what we all know, these are the wheeled eye monster. So the eye of it actually located on its forehead, and it's only one. Then we also have the Titans. So this Titan, take note of this. These Titans contributed a major part on the story because the Greek believed that the situation of Gaia and Uranus is hard because they produce a monster, and Uranus is the only one who hated that monster, the 50-headed and 100-handed monster. And because of that, he decided to imprison it under the secret place of the earth. The Cyclops and the Titans, which left at large, engaged at maltreatment and tried to appeal for their sibling. And you know what? The only one who is brave and bold enough to fight their father is the Titan Cronus. Cronus. He lay in wait for his father and wounded him terribly. After that, the giants and the 4th race of monsters sprung up from his blood. From the same blood too, the Furies, Furies, were born, and their primary purpose was to pursue and punish sinners. or they sometimes called as those who walk in darkness. And as long as there are sins in this world, they could not banish. And take note, the earrings are also included. Erynyes, earrings. In addition, in untold ages, Cronus also called by Roman mythology as Saturn, meaning the Lord of the universe. And it also includes his sister Rhea, or some historian call it as Queen Rhea, Rhea. And for another information that I want to add, the Titan Cronus decided to marry his sister Rhea. And then the two primordial creatures produce 6 children: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and lastly, Zeus. Well, actually, it's not included on the pages that I've read, but it's better for you to take note of those. And later on, Zeus, which in Latin Jupiter, rebelled against Cronus. Why? For me, he had a good cause to do so. For Cronus had learned that one of his children was destined someday to dethrone him, and he thought go against him. And to escape that fate, he decided to swallow them as soon as they were born. But the good thing is that when Rhea bore Zeus, her 6th child, she succeeded in having him secretly carried off to Crete, while she gave her husband a great stone wrapped in swaddling clothes, which actually a fake move of Queen Rhea to save Zeus from being swallowed. Later, when Zeus was grown, he forced his father with the help of his grandmother, the Earth, which is Gaia, and he now decided to save his 5 siblings on the hand of his father Cronus. And then Zeus met Metis, the goddess of wisdom. He knows everything. And Zeus decided to ask Metis to create a potion. Then when his father can drink that potion, it can disgorge the 5 earlier children, which are the primordial gods. And then Zeus pretend to be a commoner and find a way to put that potion, and he succeed. And then Cronus disgorged the 5 children into a full-grown gods. Poseidon, the god of the sea. Hades, the god of the underworld. Hera, the goddess of woman, family, marriage, and childbirth. Demeter, goddess of agricultural and fertility, protector of marriage and women. Hestia, the goddess of earth. And then it followed by a terrible war between Cronus and Zeus with the help of his brother Titans. While Cronus helped by his brother Titans, Zeus helped by his brothers and sisters, the primordial gods. And then a war that almost wrecked the universe. A dreadful sound troubled the boundless sea, uttered a cry. The wide heaven was shaken. Beneath the onrush of the deathless gods, and trembling seized upon black Tartarus. And then Zeus, with his siblings, conquered the Titans partly because Zeus released from their prisons the 100-handed monsters who fought for him with their irresistible weapons: thunder, lightning, and earthquake. And because of the Titan Prometheus, Prometheus, take note of this. Prometheus, a Titan that helped Zeus to conquer a Titan, is the wisest creature, took side with Zeus. And Zeus punished his conquered enemies terribly. They were bound in bitter chains beneath the wide earth. And after the war, Prometheus, which is the wisest creature's brother, Atlas, suffered a still worse fate. The titan named Atlas was condemned. This Atlas, punished to bear the world on his back forever, and the vault of the skies in his shoulder forever. Even the Titans were conquered and crushed. Zeus was not completely victorious. Earth gave birth to her last, most frightful offspring, a creature more terrible than any that had gone before. His name was Typhon. Typhon. A flaming monster with 100 heads who rose up against all the gods. That whistled from his fearful jaws. His eyes flashed glaring fire. But Zeus had now got the thunder and lightning under his own control. They had become his weapons, used by no one else. He struck Typhon down with the bolt that never sleeps. Thunder with breath and a flame into his heart. The fire burned. His strength was turned to ash, and now he lies a useless thing. And then the last problem that Zeus encountered is that when the giant rebelled. But he still obtained to succeed on conquering all those giants by the help of his son Hercules. And the heaven over the brutal forces of the earth was complete. From then on, Zeus and his brothers and sister ruled undisputed, lords of all. So now we have new characters, which are the Cimmerians. They live in random places like east, west, north, or south, no one knew. It was a land cloud wrapped and misty, where the light of the days was never seen. All those who live across the ocean were exceedingly fortunate. In the remotest north, so far away it was at the back of the north wind, there was a blissful land where the Hyperbore, Hyperbore, lived, and only a few strangers, great heroes, had ever visited it. Not by ship nor foot might one find the road to the marvelous meeting place of the Hyperboreans. took over the task of creation and thought out a way to make mankind superior. He fashioned them in a nobler shape than the animals, upright like the gods. And then he went to heaven, to the sun, where he lit a torch and brought down fire. So he stole that torch to bring that for a protection that can use by men, far better than anything else, whether fur or feathers or strength or swiftness. And now mankind has flaming fires, and therefore they learn many crafts. But mind you guys, according to another story, the gods themselves created man. They made first a golden race. This, although mortal, live like gods without sorrow of heart, far from toil and pain. In this account of creation, the gods seems bent on experimenting with their various metals and, oddly enough, proceeding downward from the excellent to the good, to the worse, and so on. When they had tried gold, they went to silver. This second race of silver was very inferior to the first. They had so little intelligence that they could not keep from enduring each other. They too passed away. But unlike the gold race, their spirits did not live on after them. The next race was of brass. They were terrible men, immensely strong and such lovers of wars and violence that they were completely destroyed by their own hands. This, however, was all too good, and they were followed by a splendid race of godlike heroes who fought glorious wars and went on great adventures which men had talked and sung of through all the ages since. The fifth race is that which is now upon the earth, the iron race. So we have gold race, silver race, brass race, and the godlike heroes, as well as the iron race. So in iron race, they live in evil times, and their nature too has so much evil, so that they never have rest from toil and sorrow. As the generation pass, they grow worse. Sons are always inferior to their fathers. A time will come when they have grown too wicked that they will worship power. At last, when no man is angry anymore at wrongdoing or feel ashamed, Zeus will destroy them too. Now, these two stories of creation, the story of 5 ages, and the story of Prometheus and Epimetheus, different as they are, agree in one point. For a long time, certainly throughout the happy golden age, only men were upon the earth. There were no women. Zeus created the woman, later, in the anger of Prometheus for caring so much for men. So because of the care and love of Prometheus to men, as he wants to give everything to men, Zeus punished Prometheus. In addition, Prometheus had not only stolen fire for men, he had also arranged that they should get the best part of any animals sacrifice for gods. Worstest thing that can be happen. He cut up a great ox and wrapped the good eatable parts into hide, disguising them further by peeling entrails on the top. Beside this, he put another of all the bones dressed up with cunning and covered with shining fat. Suddenly, when Zeus took up the white fat, he became angry when he saw the bones craftily tricked out. But he had made his choice, and he had to abide by it, because thereafter Only fat and bones were burned to the gods upon their altars, but men kept the good meat for themselves. But the father of man and of gods, which is Zeus, was not one to put up with this sort of treatment. He swore to be revenged on the mankind first and then on mankind's friend. He made a great evil for men, a sweet and lovely thing to look upon, in the likeness of a shy maiden, and all the gods gave her gifts. So who is this maiden, which created by Zeus out of his anger? So this was called Pandora. So this Pandora actually accept the gifts of gods. That's why Pandora means the gift of all. When this beautiful disaster had been made, Zeus brought her out and wondered to took off hold of gods and men when they beheld her. From Pandora, the first race of woman begins. And when Zeus had punished men by giving them women, he turned his attention to the arch sinner himself. The new ruler of the gods owed Prometheus much for helping him conquer the other titans. But he forgot his debt. Zeus had his servants force and violence seize him and take him to the Caucasus, where they bound him. Now, when Prometheus punished by Zeus, the high piercing headlock rock in Adamite chains that none can break, experienced by Prometheus. The reason for inflicting this torture was not only to punish Prometheus, but also to force him to disclose a secret very importantly. Zeus knew that fate, which brings all this to pass. He anticipated that someday a son should someday born to him who had dethroned him, as what he did. And he drove the gods from their home in heaven. But only Prometheus knew who would be the mother of his son. As he lay bound upon the rock in agony, Zeus sent his messenger Hermes to bid him disclose the secret. Prometheus told him, "Go and persuade the sea. Wave not to break you will persuade me no more easily." So meaning, Prometheus don't want to hide this prophecy. And then Hermes warned him that if he persisted in his stubborn silence, he should suffer still more terrible things. But nothing, no threat nor torture could break Prometheus. His body was bound, but his spirit was free. He knew that he had served Zeus well, and that he had done right to pity mortals in their helplessness. So here's the thing, Prometheus stated, "There is no force which can compel my speech, so let Zeus hurl his blazing bolts. And with the white wings of the snow, with thunder and with earthquake, confound the reeling world. None of all this will bend my will." So that time, Hermes the messenger cried out. But later on we know that Prometheus was actually released. And there are some stories, strange stories that stated how Centaur, Chiron, which are told to be as immortal, was willing to die for him, and that he was allowed to do so. But suddenly when Zeus changed his mind, and whether Prometheus revealed the secret, I don't know actually what's the reason, because there's no findings here what's the reason of their reconcilement. But one thing is certain, in whatever way the two were reconciled, it was not Prometheus who yielded. His name has stood through all the centuries, from Greek days to our own, as that of the great rebel against injustice and the authority of power. So even though Zeus punished Prometheus, still the case of Prometheus was dismissed. And suddenly, when Zeus saw the wickedness, Zeus determined to destroy them. He decided to mingle storms and tempests over boundless earth and make an utter end of mortal man. He sent the flood. He called upon his brother, the god of the sea, to help him. And together the torrents of rain from heaven and rivers loose upon the earth. The two drowned the land. The might of water overwhelmed dark earth. Every summits of the highest mountains, only towering Parnassus was not quite covered, and the bit of dry land on its very topmost peak was the means by which mankind escaped destruction. After 9 days and 9 nights, there came drifting to that spot what looked to be a great wooden chest. And he later found out that there are two living people or human beings inside that chest, a man and a woman. They were Deucalion, Deucalion, and Pyrrha, Pyrrha. He, Prometheus' son, and the girl, which is the daughter of Epimetheus, his niece, the wisest person in all the universe. Prometheus had well been able to protect his own family. He knew the flood would come, and he had hidden his son. He built a chest, stored it with provisions, and embarked it with his wife. Fortunately, Zeus was not offended because the two were pious, faithful worshippers of the gods. When the chest came to land and they got out to see no signs of life anywhere, Zeus pitied them and drained off the flood, drained it slowly like the ebbing tide. The sea and the river, earth was dry again. Pyrrha and Deucalion came down from Parnassus, the only living creatures in a dead world. So, guys, they actually represent as the Eve and Adam of our creation. Earth is the mother of all, he told his wife. Her bones are the stones. There were many mountains left. So, after that, they did. And as the stone fell, they looked at it and took a human shape. They were called the Stone People, and they were hard, an enduring race, as well as to be expected, indeed, as they had need to be rescued from the desolation left by the flood. And on this last part, it's somehow like Noah's Ark. So before ending this presentation, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.